Morning, everyone. If you're in Les Sables d'Olonne in Europe, and good evening if you're in Hobart. It's the 23rd of December, getting very close to Christmas now, and all very interesting in the Southern Ocean. First of all, we're hoping to see Guy pop up any minute. Guy's actually departed Cape Town, as you know, but there's something going on. We're on to Yellow Brick late last night. We're expecting something to happen this morning, so European time. So you will see him come up. His tweets are suggesting he's frustrated with light winds and not making huge speed at the moment. But anyway, we'll get him up as soon as we can, and then we can start tracking him and his voyage across to Hobart. So the other interesting one is a couple of systems. This is the big one that was here. Fortunately, the forecast has been sort of okay. It's forecast this intense low pressure, but it's down a little bit lower than we thought, and it's moving a little bit slower as well. So that's the big story here for now, and then of course the lead boats. But we'll come back here first of all and talk about Elliot and Ian plodding along, doing the right thing, all that sort of stuff. Elliot's making 4 knots there. He's just clicked over to the current. What do we got? No, we're still waiting for it to click over. This is the old one. So he was doing 4 knots, and you can see he's in the centre of this high. Very low winds, so that's fine. And Ian's making 5 knots, probably in really good seas, enjoying the ride. And in a minute, we'll clock that over, and we'll see exactly what's going on. Jeremy started to interact with this low pressure. There we go. We just saw it clock over then. He's a little bit further to the south. He's doing 5.6 knots. He'll be getting 35s gusting 40, probably 5.5, 6 metre seas, or 5.5 metre seas or something. And he's just going to click the top of it as it goes through. So he's made good time, 113 miles. He's sailing conservatively. That's his game plan for the Southern Ocean now. Not push the boat too hard and just get it through at the end of the day. So he's quite happy with that, and he's missed the blow. Goog is he got north and everything, and he might be forgetting because I sent him a message this afternoon just to say that he's high enough, and he may be forgetting now that that it's not this one we're worried about. It's this one coming up here, because I just see his courses. He's heading back down again. I'm not sure why, but he's got not a lot of wind there anyway. And he's making 5.4 knots now. So this has slowed up a bit. We told him to watch out for this one growing at 2300 hours UTC tonight. That's when it's coming. So I was surprised he's turned down. I just said, okay, you're up high enough, go for Hobart, but I didn't say drop down again. Anyway, he should be fine. So we'll show the progression of that in a minute. And for now, I'll just drop this back. And we'll just go through a little bit. So this is the current position and speed. Yeah, Elliot went back to 2 knots, 2.2 knots over the last 4 hours, and Ian has held at 5 knots. And Jeremy, we've gone through that, so I'm just going to walk that through now. Just the next couple of days, Ian and Elliot, they've really got nothing dramatic happening. This was an interesting little system coming down here. It's like a little hurricane or something, but it's not moving this way, and it'll blow itself apart, which you can see there. So this is by tomorrow afternoon. That high's formed over the top of Elliot, so he'll be going very slow. Ian's still sailing, got nice conditions. Jeremy's settling down to some typical Southern Ocean stuff, and very happy to keep moving. This is Christmas Day. So Jeremy's got a windy Christmas Day. Elliot will be drifting, having a big Christmas lunch, and Ian will be having a fantastic sail by the look of it. He'll be enjoying very benign conditions, but Jeremy's going to have a Southern Ocean Christmas Day for sure. Okay, so we'll drop that back and leave those guys there, and we'll talk about what's happening here with Goog and Jeremy. This is pretty intense. There's forecasting in there 55, be going 60, 70, even up to 80 knots down here. So you don't want to be down in this part. So it's good that these systems are down low. They could have been established up higher here, but as we know, this Antarctic anomaly in the weather has kept the pressure systems down south. So that's kind of cool as well. Okay, let's just roll it through and just show you what's going to happen with it. With Jeremy, he's losing it, like coming at the back of it now, and then the weather will settle down. There wasn't a huge wind shift from northwest to southwest. It just rolled comfortably, so the sea should be pretty organised. And then you can see, as per the forecast that we gave Goog, 23. That's 2,300 hours tonight. That's when or 2,200. We said watch out. It's coming up behind. So he's got a slight northwester, and then it's going to swing to a southwest. And as it goes under him, he's going to miss the worst of it. But there it is. There. That's tomorrow. Sort of around midday local time. Or tomorrow 1000 UTC. He'll be getting some pretty solid stuff. Big seas. They'll be. Let's have a look at the seas. I'd say they're going to be up around 6 meters. Yeah, or even more. He's got some big seas coming. When you get into here, you're talking about 9 meter seas, and he's going to tip the back of that. He'll get 8 meter seas or so. So he's going to have an interesting time there, and that's all happening in the next. What have we got? The next 24 hours, he's going to be busy. So the wind's okay, but the sea's building because the sea will be moving up as well. So we'll just roll that through a little bit more and see how the sea comes across. Yep, he's going to get some big ones. There's 8 meters there. So it's forecasting 8 meters. It's probably going to be 10. You'll get occasional 10 coming through. So he might have some stories and some good photos after that lot. So yeah, it's going to go through pretty quickly, but he's in for a big ride there. Jeremy didn't quite see that. And interestingly, let's just roll this through and see how the sea is going to impact Abelish and Kirsten as they're coming in. This is Christmas Day. Now Kirsten will actually should be in sometime Christmas Day, about there, so she won't see the big stuff, and Abelish is just going to miss it as well. You can see it's all dropping down here, so Abelish will get into the 6 meter stuff and 5 meters as he's getting closer. So it's a big powerful system, that one. Anyway, we'll see how we go here. I'll just pull this back a bit and get back to wind. And yeah, you can see that's pretty straightforward for them. But yeah, Goog's going to be in for a big ride in the next 24 hours. So we'll just bring this back to real time now, and we'll enlarge it, and we'll start to talk about the lead pack here. Okay, so I don't know whether anyone's been following the tracker. You're probably all sleeping in Europe, but what actually happened was what we predicted, that Simon actually picked up a bit of a breeze, and Kirsten pretty much stopped. I'll just blow this up a bit. Oh, too far. Oh. Okay, so yeah, Simon picked up a breeze and actually made some good distance towards Tassie. Kirsten fell in a hole, okay, and didn't go very far at all. But you can see now she's doing 6.8 knots. The previous 4 hours she was only doing like 2.5, and the one before that was the same 3. But this breeze has come over, so that was what we projected yesterday, and that's exactly what's happening. So now Kirsten's roaring along towards Hobart, and she'll hold this course with a good breeze all the way in, right up to the bottom of Tassie anyway. Same with Abelish, 7.4 knots. He's going to be closing dramatically. He's actually taken out about 30 miles out of Kirsten and about 50 miles out of Simon. So he's closing the gap with Simon as well. And now Simon's got to negotiate the tricky stuff around the bottom of Tassie. So you're going to see him slow up now, and Kirsten will be closing rapidly. So the big issue is what's going to happen to Simon in the next number of hours. So Kirsten, just to put this in scale, there she is there, and in fact we'll just do a distance just to satisfy that level of curiosity. She's actually lost out a bit of ground to Simon. Oh no, she's picked it up again in the last 4 hours. So she's now 150 miles from Simon, and that'll be interesting to watch because she could take out 50 miles by the time Simon's leaving the zone. Depends what's happening next. But not long ago, she was 175 miles from Simon. So she did actually lose ground, but she's caught some of that up very quickly now. Because when Simon's sitting there doing just 1.1 knots, that's the speed he's averaged for the last 4 hours. It doesn't take you long to make up 24 miles or so. This is going to get very interesting now. Distance-wise, Simon has now got from here he's got to come up around Bruny Island and up in through past Adventure Bay and into the film drop here. So we'll just do an estimate of distance. In fact, I can do it in 2 stages. He's got to come to here, which is 33 miles. and then he's got to come up to there, which is about another 35 miles or 32, so that's 60, 70 miles to go. So 70 miles to go at 1 knot is 70 hours, so you can see the issues there. It's impossible to predict what's going to happen. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap to windy just to give you a better interpretation of the wind, and you can follow some of the breezes. So just remember that, he's got to sail around the corner there. So if I go to windy, first thing is what I said. This is the big blow that is under Jeremy right now. 85 knot wind gusts in the centres there, 60s to 80s. And to give you an idea of the height, that's at 55. Jeremy is now up at about 44 and a bit. He's up around here. So he's the gust. This is a gust forecast. He's getting 40 knots, 40, 45 knot gusts and so on. But it's a big system. So that's the gusts. And if I hit that and go to wind, Jeremy again on 44, there he is there. It's sort of forecasting 30, 35 and so on, but gusting another 33%. So you're up into the 40s. And Goog at the moment is here and looking pretty good. He thinks he might have lost track of what's going on. I just told him to get for Hobart, but he's heading south, and so he'll clip the top of this when it goes through. Okay, so let's just bring this up now to underneath Tassie, because this is a bit more accurate, and we got, but it's very hard to predict still, because when there's no wind, it's really hard to sort of say what's going on. Now, okay, so this is the wind in this whole zone. Now, at the moment, if you remember here, I'm probably too big. This might be getting too boring for some, but if I go back and just reposition, so here's Bruny Island, here's the bottom of Tassie. He's literally right at the bottom of Tassie, just there, a few miles offshore. So now I bring that into here. There he is. So this is probably where he is right now, and it's all 5-6 knots because he's in a wind shadow. All the winds are coming down from the north, making it very unstable, by the way. And I'm looking out the window here and right over Kingston Beach. It looks like it's tropical storms, like big sort of, not thunderstorms, but rain and blue sky, but patchy, really wispy cumulonimbus and all that sort of stuff. It's very subtropical because you've got the temperatures mild coming down from the north, and it's made the whole thing unstable. So there's sort of all 5 knots, 6 knots. This is real time now, and there's this big wind shadow. The gate is up in here. So if I start clicking this forward to watch the weather, so this is now 10 o'clock tonight. There's still virtually very little wind. There's a little bit of breeze there to push him through. If we come down here, it's still 6, 7, 8 knots still. That's 10 o'clock tonight. This is now midnight, 1 a.m. Still big holes there with very little wind at all. But see behind here, this is what Kirsten's in. She's coming roaring up. So every hour that he's sitting there, Kirsten's making, probably at least 6 knot gain. So if it's 10 hours, it's 60 miles. And this weather now is already 3 o'clock in the morning, local time. So that's now 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 hours. 8, 6 are 48. So there's every expectation she'll be within 100 miles of him, by the morning. And then we just got to see what happens, and then you get into a situation where it's twisting up for her, so she'll be able to keep coming up. And at this stage, this is now 8 o'clock in the morning, you get an offshore breeze coming off here, and Simon will sail that. There's 13, 12, 11, 10, and so on, 8 knots. So, and that turned up. So that's after dawn. It's dawn here at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're starting to get, so that's 6 o'clock. So as soon as the sun starts coming up, I think you'll see Simon starting to make a move, and he'll be up here. So by the look of this, as much as it's impossible to predict it, I would say he's probably going to arrive no earlier than 8 o'clock, and I think it might even be 9 o'clock or something like that. And by that time, I have no doubts that Kirsten will be within 100 miles. If I scroll this back now, you see the weather behind. This is what Kirsten's got. She's got a dream run right in. And so then if we assume that, let's say Simon's in, I'll just blow it up again, about 8, 9 o'clock. I'll push that through midday or something like that. Then he's got to get out, and he's got a nice gentle breeze to get out. That'll be a spinnaker run. This is by lunchtime tomorrow afternoon, and he'll be coming out here with sort of 10 knots behind him. So that means there's not a lot of apparent wind. So still only be doing 3s and 4s. Kirsten could get within about 60 miles of him, 60, 70 miles, by the time she's leaving to come out. So that would, it's very hard to predict all this. It sounds as if I'm trying to stop Simon from winning or being in front. It's got nothing to do with it. I'm just trying to explain the fun of yacht racing, you might say. There's winners and losers because of the weather. So if Kirsten's then coming in, you see now here's her problem. She's coming in up around Bruni here. She's got light headwinds. Okay, so she could be sitting here, which is only 30 odd miles away or something, but then she's got to navigate this same problem, and Simon will be sailing away because he's got the breeze out here. So it's hard to predict again, but this is midnight, and you can see there's no wind. This is really common here. There's very little wind, so she could be parked down here and might not get in, even though she got really close. She still might not get in until lunchtime on the 25th on Christmas Day, or even later. It might be late in the day on the 25th. So all of a sudden the distance that she is away from Simon is not as relevant as the time it's going to take her to navigate all this light stuff. So it's still wide open, but it's going to be fascinating to watch. And and then behind all that, of course, I'm not forgetting about Abelish. He's got a great breeze roaring through, and he will for sure compress the distance the same with Kirsten, the same as Kirsten did with Simon, and then it'll all come to down to how they get out of there and what's going to happen. And if we just pull this forward, it's all going to go quiet, right? So this is on the 26th, and this is then when, if I pull this back, this is when Abelish is now trying to come in, right? And he's parked. He'll be parked here because if he's 100 day and a half behind, he's parked, and then there's headwinds and so on. So you're going to see lots of give and take in the next few days. That's the bottom line. Anyway, fingers crossed. Everything. Good luck for Michael tonight. He's going to have some big seas and some moderate winds behind him, and I hope everyone is looking